like everybody is here, so let us begin. Hello and welcome to the Multicopter Warehouse webinar series. My name is Thad King and I'm the National Sales Manager here for Multicopter Warehouse. I will be the moderator for today's webinar. I want to go over just a few things before we turn it over to Ryan. Everyone in the audience will be muted, so if you do have any questions, please write them in the question queue or the chat, and we will be sure to answer them during the Q&A sessions at the end. Today's webinar overviews integrating the newly released Anzu Raptor T for public safety and inspection. So without further ado, please welcome our Multicopter Warehouse Senior Consultant for Public Safety and Inspections, Ryan Carter. Take it away, Ryan.
Thanks, Thad, and thanks everyone for joining us today. As Thad mentioned, we will be going over the Anzu Raptor T for public safety and inspection. I have the drone sitting here for you guys to take a look at. It's going to be very similar to what we've seen with the Mavic 3 Enterprise series and that Mavic 3 thermal camera. With the 3-camera setup on here, you have the wide, the zoom, and the thermal camera. And then the remote controller here is going to look very similar as well. Nice green design on it, but it'll be very similar to what we see with that RC Pro. So let's get started. So we will be having a live Anzu Raptor demo event here August 1st at our location. I'll talk more about that at the end. But as Thad mentioned, I am our Senior Enterprise Consultant for Public Safety and Inspection. My contact information is there at the bottom. Without further ado, let's get started. A little bit about us here at Multicopter Warehouse. We've been around for around 10 years now, moving locations throughout Colorado. We do have a national presence with offices here in Denver as well as in Texas. But we are consider ourselves a one-stop shop. We are a repair shop. We have enterprise specialists. We have a consumer showroom. And so for all things drone, we like to assist our customers with getting where they want to be, get them the equipment, make sure they're comfortable with the equipment, and we think we do a good job of doing so. So looking at today's agenda, we're going to be going over the Anzu Robotics platform, a little bit of their flight planning features, some of the thermal features within the app itself, and then the mission execution for that flight planning. So as we jump in, taking a look at Anzu Robotics, they are going to be an American-owned drone manufacturer. They're based in Austin, Texas. They're going to have U.S.-based data server support, service, and repair. And then they do make a big emphasis of their data security with the AES-256 encryption. One thing that a lot of our customers deal with is the geofencing. Now, we never recommend or advocate for those flying in areas they're not supposed to fly without proper waivers, but this does allow for you to not have the extra hoop to jump through when you are following all those rules and being locked out from different geo zones like we see with other drone manufacturers. And then another convenient factor is it does allow you to do those LANC authorizations through the app itself, since we are using Aloft, formerly Kitty Hawk, which had been known for doing those exact things. So taking a look at the flight planning features on the Autel, those of you that have Mavic 3 Enterprise, it's going to be very similar here in terms of the overall flight planning process. So the Aloft Air Control will be the default app. And as we enter into the platform, this is going to be the landing page of where we'll see the different map, the different geo zones. Now, it's like I said, it's not going to have geo zones to lock you out. It is going to notify you of potential to do a LANC authorization due to the TFRs or just the different flight space. So when we go into creating a mapping route, we can go ahead and select either mapping or waypoint. And then we'll want to go ahead and find our area as well as select the aircraft model. Once we found the area of interest, we'll go ahead and tap on the screen to make the different outlines and perimeter for that flight. And once we have filled the full area of the mapping perimeter that we're looking to capture, then we'll be able to enter and select more refined details on that mission, including the camera type, which we're selecting here as Raptor Series, Raptor. And this is going to create those flight lines based on the altitude and the overlap settings that we have put into our mapping mission. So when we take a look at the different options, it allows us to name that route and save it so it's easily accessible for us to repeat those missions and to know exactly where those missions are on the map. And then we have the option of doing either an oblique collection or an ortho collection. That oblique collection is going to set 5 different flight paths, one from top down and then one from each side to be able to capture sides. Typically, we do ortho collections to do 2D mapping missions, in which we're setting right now the ground sampling distance. So the ground sampling distance is going to directly impact your overall resolution on your mapping mission. As well as the route altitude. So we see how the route altitude and the ground sampling distance do change when you alter either number. And then we want to make sure we have a safe takeout altitude set up to avoid any obstacles. Now, the slower the speed, the better results you're going to get with the Raptor T. Because it's a rolling shutter, then it'll eliminate any sort of warping within those photos. When you're flying with the Raptor, it's going to have a mechanical shutter on the 4/3, and which does allow for you to fly a little bit faster while maintaining good data collection. And so now we want to make sure that we have our side overlap set to at least 70-80 or 80-80, whatever you kind of prefer, but you want good overlap to be able to reconstruct that mission. And then you have the option of adding a little margin area to get outside of the flight plan if you want to have some wiggle room. But once we're set up with that, then we can set the area of or the angle of which the flight mission is captured. And then the other option here would be to do a KMZ import or to save it as a KMZ for your flight log. So now that the mission is actually planned, we will actually enter into the app, in which it's going to give you a full flight check. You can skip through that here. But at this point, we've now planned the mission where it's sitting and it's going to be waiting for us to actually initiate that when we enter into the camera view. And so as we jump into the next feature here, the thermal features, once you have that flight mission set, you're able to either initiate it or you can fly manually once you enter into the camera view. So for this first video, or I'm sorry, for the second video, what we'll do is we're going to show you when you're flying manually what you're going to see in the camera feed to switch into that thermal view. And so we see here we're going to be able to toggle between the different side-by-side or just a straight thermal. It is going to have the standardized color palettes that you'll see on the DJI Mavic 3 Thermal or in the Pilot 2 app, with the ability to toggle on that isotherm feature. Now, where that isotherm feature comes into play is being able to highlight specific temperatures that may be outside of operating range and be able to easily identify them. So right now that feature is actually turned off, but what it would do is if we set this to a temperature range of, say, between 27 degrees and 87 degrees, and anything outside of that range will appear as this color palette. Anything within that range will be grayed out, therefore telling you that it's within operating range and not anything to worry about. So that's kind of the breakdown on the thermal camera. A lot of very similar features. One thing to note is that they don't currently have the zoom linked up, or you're going to be able to link. They'll be running independently. The zoom will be running independently from each other, as we kind of saw in that video. I'll play it again here. But when the zoom camera, when you use the wheel on the remote controller to zoom in on the zoom camera, it's not going to match that same image. You will have the ability to tap on the zoom right there on the. You'll see it on the right side of the screen where it says IR 2 times. If we tap on that, it will jump from the 2 times to 4 times to 8 times to 16 times to try and match up your view. But I am actually tapping on that to to show you that we can match it. It's just not going to do it autonomously. And now when we jump into that mission execution, so if you were out flying and you wanted to then initiate one of those automated flights to be able to do the mapping, then it's going to be a little bit different in terms of where you find that feature. So we're going to do the same thing of entering into the start pre-flight check. Now, if you have been flying, what this is going to allow you to do is either do a whole new pre-flight check or resume your mission. And when it refers to resume mission, I'm going to pause this for a second. When it refers to resume mission within the Anzu platform, it's going to refer to not just an automated mission, but you flying manually. So if you have turned this on and you've gone through the pre-flight check, that's considered a mission. And so from that point on, you'll be operating under one mission where if you back out into the home screen to plan a flight, then you can say you're still resuming that same flight and you don't need to go through the full pre-flight check. But once we've done so, what we're able to do is we'll be able to access those flight plans through the little mission icon there on the top left. So checking out the camera, making sure that we're good here, but we'll see that we're going to open up that feature to be able to access any missions that we have set, and from there be able to actually initiate a flight, which it'll upload, and then we're going to actually toggle it to execute. So from here, it's going to launch. It's going to go to its start point. I think we had to double check something on the system before we took off, so we had to land real quick, but you'll see it be reinitialized. So that's going to be pretty much how we initiate those flights. We didn't want to show you the full data capture since it's kind of the boring side of things, but it will go out, start at the start point, fly the full flight. Now, while it's flying, you'll see the time remaining, the photos remaining, and the ability to stop and pause that mission. So you will be able to pause if you did have air traffic in the area or something else you wanted to further inspect while you're doing that mapping mission, and then be able to go in and resume from its breakpoint. So a lot of very similar features as we see on the Pilot 2 app, with the ability to toggle through different flight missions or pause that mission to get a clearer look at certain areas that may be of interest. So with that, I do want to break into some questions because I know that this platform's a little bit, it's very similar, but it can be also a little bit different than what you've experienced. I want to make sure we clear any of those questions up for you.
Hey Ryan, this is Thad. We've got some questions. Our first question is, can you use drone deploy pre-map missions for autonomous flights on this platform?
So drone deploy is in works of being able to be used with this platform. It's pretty much on the timeline of drone deploy at this point to make it fully integratable. That is in the works. I don't have a current timeline set for it, but yes, you will be able to use drone deploy and pre-plan missions through drone deploy in collaboration with this drone.
Yeah, I believe that the Anzu's released all their SDK out to them, and they're just waiting on drone deploy to finish up on their end.
That's what we've been told. Yep.
Yep. The next question is the Raptor T radiometric?
Radiometric. So yes, the thermal camera on the Raptor T will be radiometric. For those of you that don't know, radiometric versus non-radiometric, a radiometric thermal camera will be able to store the temperature data within each pixel of any thermal photo taken. So that way, if you did need to go back and process those images and actually break it down pixel by pixel to tell you if a certain module was within spec and get specific temperature readings, it will score that within each photo. So that is a powerful tool that they have built into the thermal camera. Yes.
Okay. Next question is, can I stream video from my Raptor series drone?
So video streaming through the Anzu Raptor is possible through the default app on the ALAV flight control. You will need the Wi-Fi connection to be able to broadcast that, but the system is capable of doing video streaming, yes.
Perfect. What is the learning curve? No, sorry, next question is, what is the learning curve between Aloft flight software and other brands like DJI?
So since this aircraft is very similar to the design on the Mavic, they know that a lot of their users will be coming over from that platform. They have made it very seamless where you can expect to find and have a very similar setup on that software as we see with the Pilot 2 app in terms of the settings. Now, a few differences is actually one of the main differences is going to be how you initiate those flights. There is a way to do the same sequence of events through the Pilot 2 app as we've done with the Anzu today for the mission planning, although there's all the most commonly used way to initiate those flights is a little bit different. So you won't be able to find them when you plan the mission with the Anzu. It's not going to be able to execute that flight from the same page. You will actually need to be within the manual flying portion of the app to be able to find those planned missions to execute. Personally, that's one of the only differences I've seen in terms of a little bit of a learning curve to make sure you know where to go to initiate those flights. Other than that, it's a very easy transition for its users.
Awesome. What is the warranty period on the Raptor and Raptor T?
So the Raptor will have a 1-year warranty period. When you do receive your Raptor, it's not going to make you register the drone with ALAF. You do need to activate the warranty period to be able to fly it for the first time. So that is one of the differences we see with the DJI platform versus the Anzu platform of not having to actually create ALOFT or an Anzu account, if you will, to be able to operate and get off the ground like you do with DJI. But you do need to click the step where you would activate that 1-year manufacturer warranty period.
And then the next question I have is, what is covered in the Anzu Care program?
So the Anzu Care program is designed for any accidental crashes. This can include essentially anything you're able to recover the drone from: water damage, crash, hard landing where maybe it clips something and flips over. But any accidental damage where it would fall onto the pilot rather than the manufacturer, it will be covered under the Anzu Care program, which is available for 1 year.
Excellent. Got one more question that I see in the chat is, where does the firmware on the Raptor series drone initiate from or come from?
So the firmware updates are housed on ALOFT servers. They're not accessible to anyone except for ALOFT or Anzu to decrease the vulnerability of those firmware updates. So that it goes back to their emphasis on the data security side of things, saying that, knowing that the firmware is housed in the United States and specifically on their servers. So that does give some peace of mind.
Okay. Last chance if anybody has any additional questions. Gonna give them just a second here. While we're doing that, you can remind them of our event, Ryan.
Yep. So I just wanted to point out again, we do have a live event here at our store. We're located off of I-25 in Evans. Our address is there on the bottom right. My contact information is also there on the bottom left. Please reach out if you have any other additional questions about the system or about our live event happening on the 1st. But we do plan on showcasing the Anzu. You'd be able to get the controller in your hands, see how it feels, get some real real world experience with the system, so that way you can answer any questions you may have about its flight operation and just to get a good feel for it if you were interested in the system. So please be sure to reach out and sign up for that event if you were interested. We do expect to have a good amount of people here for it, so looking forward to it.
Okay, and the last thing we would like to add is please visit our new revamped Multicopter Warehouse website. We do have brochures. We have all kinds of information now. We've made it much easier to navigate, so we hope you like it. So check us out at multicopterwarehouse.com. And this webinar will be posted on there shortly, so probably by tomorrow or Monday. And all of our previous webinars are on there, so if you want to check anything out, it's a great place to get all kinds of information. And I don't see any other questions in the queue, so I think that will do it for today. Again, thank you for joining the Multicopter webinar series. Thank you, Ryan. Great job. And we look forward to seeing you guys at the next one.
Thanks everyone for coming out. We appreciate it. We hope to see you at the event.